2025 marks the 50th anniversary of one of the largest mass resettlements of political refugees from Southeast Asia. More than the end of a war, it marks 50 years of Vietnamese American community building and the community's contributions in Illinois, from the labor of thousands of working class people to build up industries in the Midwest, such as healthcare, manufacturing, hospitality, to establishing numerous small businesses, the many restaurants, nail salons, and auto shops that helped revitalize neighborhoods. This year is a tremendous milestone for the Vietnamese American community that gives cause for reflection and celebration. While the story of Vietnamese people in the United States starts with the US-Vietnam War, it surely does not end there.
My name is Nhi Dao. I was born in Bien Hoa, Vietnam, and I immigrated when I was 2 thanks to the World Relief Program, which placed me and my family in Illinois, where we've lived for the past 18 years.
My name is Xuân Hân, and I was born in Saigon, Vietnam in 2004, and I've been in Illinois since 2008, so I moved here when I was 4.
My name is Tran Ma. I was born in Bac Lieu, Vietnam, and I've been in Illinois for 8 years. I moved here after graduate school in 2017. Chicago's always been somewhere I wanted to live, and it's like the closest big city to me because I grew up in Dayton, Ohio. And yeah, I love it.
My full name is Chun Quy Hac. I am born in Chicago, Illinois, and I've lived here most of my life. I've lived abroad here and there, but I would say that I've lived here most of my life.
I'm Reginald Hardwick. I was born in Soc Trong, Vietnam in 1973. At the time, the village was named Bac Nguyen. I was actually raised and grew up in Colorado. I'm with Illinois Public Media, which is based at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign.
My name is Nguyen, Lê Nguyen. I was born in Đà Lạt, Vietnam. I've been in the U.S. since 1975 with the first wave of refugees resettlement in the U.S.
Bác chào con. Trước hết là bác giới thiệu bác là tên là Nguyễn Văn Phong. Rồi bác sinh ra ở thành phố Hải Dương là ở miền Bắc. Yeah. Rồi bác di cư vào Nam tháng 7 năm 1954 thì và đã di cư sang Mỹ và định cư tại thành phố Aurora phía bắc của Chicago và ở với Chicago đây, tiểu bang Illinois từ tháng 10 năm 1975 cho đến nay.
Thì chú xin trả lời là chú tên là Nguyễn Văn Tâm. Chú sinh ở Sài Gòn, thành phố Hồ Chí Minh bây giờ đó, năm 1943. Và hiện giờ là chú đang sống tại Chicago. Và cái thời gian chú sống nó cũng đã gần tới bây giờ là 40 mấy năm rồi. Đó, đã rất là hân hạnh để mà gặp con ngày hôm nay.
On April 30th, 1975, the People's Army of Vietnam and the Viet Cong captured Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam, on a day commonly referred to as the Fall of Saigon, or Black April. What transpired immediately was the mass exodus of millions of Vietnamese people, including those of Chinese descent, fleeing from Vietnam. While it is commonly referred to as the US-Vietnam War, the US also carried out bombings throughout Laos and Cambodia. With the rise in power of the Vietnamese Communist government, many of those who opposed the communist regime, or those who fought in the Army of the Republic in defense of South Vietnam, were placed in re-education camps in rural new economic zones under harsh conditions. More than 200,000 to 300,000 former military officers, government workers, and supporters of the former government were tortured in the camps as a form of repression and indoctrination. Many of these people were young men who were in their teens and early 20s.
Thì đây là những cái hình mà bác học ở trung học ở Đà Nẵng. Thì Trong cái giai đoạn này là cái giai đoạn mà bác rất là được sống gọi là hạnh phúc, cho nên đây là những hình ảnh rất là sống động. Khi bác vào quân đội đó là bác mới 20 tuổi thì bác cũng đã nhận thấy đây là không phải là một sự cưỡng bức, nhưng mà đây là một nhiệm vụ. Đó, đây là một nhiệm vụ và bổn phận của mình. Và cũng may mắn là với kiến thức mà học vấn ở bên ngoài, bác nhận thức rất là rõ ràng và đi vào quân đội với một cái tinh thần mà gọi là bảo vệ cho chính nghĩa, bảo vệ cho đất nước và bảo vệ cho tự do, cho sự sống, cho nhân quyền của đất nước Việt Nam.
Bây giờ nói về thời Việt Nam khi mà chú còn là sinh viên đó, thì lúc đó chiến tranh nó đang lên cao. Thành ra những người trẻ đó là luôn luôn có một cái tinh thần gọi là tiến bộ, nó là liberal, và muốn cái sự bình đẳng và muốn sự tự do. Thì chú lúc có thời trẻ giống như mấy con á, là mình có cái tinh thần đó. Mà cái chiến tranh đó thì nó cái tinh thần nó mất đi hết rồi. Tại cái chính phủ nó phải có những cái đàn áp để mà nó giữ cái thăng bằng về quân sự. Thì chú nằm trong sinh viên, thành ra có những cái đám biểu tình. Thì chú hồi đó là cũng tham gia tất cả những cái biểu tình, mình mà nôm na gọi là phản chiến đó. Nhưng mà thực sự là chống chính quyền để mình muốn có một cái sự quân bình. Chiến tranh thì vẫn giữ vững, nhưng mà cái quyền bình đẳng, tự do trong xã hội phải được tôn trọng, chứ không nên lợi dụng cái đó để mà chà đạp cái này. Đó tụi chú làm trong cái lúc làm trong cái tinh thần đó.
Thì đùng một cái có lệnh mà khi đó đó là bác cùng với anh em đang đi công tác ở trên gần ngã ba Nhà Bè đó, gần ngã ba Nhà Bè thì bác được nghe tin là của bên Hải quân họ báo thôi, chứ thật sự bác không có radio, không có gì hết đó. Nói nghe cái tin là tướng Dương Văn Minh tuyên bố quân lực Việt Nam Cộng Hòa đầu hàng. Thế thì cái cơ hội mà cuối cùng đó là bác đã đưa anh em lên trên tàu, trên cái tàu đó, từ chỗ Nhà Bè đó để đi ra ngoài khơi Vũng Tàu và đi sang Subic Bay, như là một sự sắp xếp trước của Thượng Đế để cho bác đưa anh em, những người cuối cùng mà dưới quyền của bác.
Following the first wave of refugees, in turn, many advocated for the United States to accept more immigrants, as those who remained in Vietnam continued to be impacted by the aftermath of the war, such as their family members, prisoners of war, and anti-war activists. The advocacy efforts from the first wave of refugees, along with their allies, were successful and led to various immigration policies permitting more Vietnamese refugees and immigrants to emigrate to the United States. From the end of the war into the 90s, it is projected that more than 2 million refugees fled Southeast Asia. Since their arrival, Vietnamese refugees built out networks of mutual aid to support and help new families integrate as they arrived in Chicago, from finding employment to obtaining job trainings to securing affordable housing. As a result of the growing migration, the landscape of the Midwest began to change. However, such expansive immigration policy was not without its pushback from U.S. residents, who were resentful of the influx of Southeast Asian refugees and immigrants resettled in Uptown.
Why Chicago? Why Uptown? At that time, when the Vietnamese came to Illinois, Uptown was not the way it is now. Housing was cheap, housing condition was not that great. A large number of white Appalachians living in Uptown, as well as Native Americans. There was an effort to create a Chinatown on the north side, around Argyle, and because there wasn't a population to support it, it hasn't prospered. Vietnamese were resettled by resettlement agencies. Where there are resettlement agencies that are willing to do the work, that's where the community were created. We assumed that we would be able to rebuild our lives, our community with the support of everyone. But there was tension because all the low income population competed for the same affordable housing. I still remember meetings where some people challenged the resettlement of Vietnamese in uptown area, and we have to defend ourselves like that. We're not moving in to displace anyone, that this is an effort to offer people who flee political persecution and to rebuild their lives. So it's not intentional in displacing anyone. As you look at the changes over time, Uptown becomes an area of kind of immigrants. It's no longer just Vietnamese or Southeast Asian, it's just everybody. As a political refugee community, we are different from a typical immigrant community. In the first wave, there's a significant percentage of people who are highly educated and have operated in government institutions. Those people are very active in the first wave of Vietnamese community leadership to develop all kinds of organization, from religious organization to cultural organization to kind of political organizations.
Along with their parents, many young people arrived as refugees who were born in Vietnam and emigrated when they were young, also commonly referred to as the 1.5 generation. In the 80s and 90s, people began to grow their families, and there were Vietnamese Americans born and raised in Illinois. Collectively, this contributed to a vibrant youth culture in places such as Uptown, which shaped a thriving Vietnamese American community. Younger generations built upon the foundation of the Vietnamese refugees in the 70s, who were now beginning to age.
My parents were involved with the Vietnamese Association of Illinois, like back in the 80s, 90s. So we were always here. There was always other adults, other youth that we were always engaged with. I was involved through the lens of the youth. So there was a lot of youth programming. There was Vietnamese classes for youth back then. But other than youth programming that I experienced, I think there was a strong need for ESL, citizenship, a lot of social service programming, because VAI and other organizations within this community provided that need, for those multiple waves that came after.
Building from the foundation established by Vietnamese refugees of the 70s, young Vietnamese Americans continue to seek community, finding themselves gravitating to neighborhood hubs such as Asian Argyle and Uptown, or also more commonly referred to as Little Saigon in other cities in the United States, and through their local community organizations and temples or churches. The children and grandchildren of refugees and early immigrants born in the United States are finding ways to build community and connect to their heritage.
I found a lot of queer Vietnamese Americans in college, and just joining the Vietnamese Student Association and just talking to more people, and it's been a very comforting experience.
I joined the youth crew, my church's youth crew. I was able to stay in touch with my Vietnamese roots through the church and through teaching the kids about our history. In some ways, I could align that with the Vietnamese history and about how that impacted Vietnamese Catholics.
Through volunteering, I've met a lot of young, like-minded Vietnamese people who think like me. I think growing up, I didn't have this network, and now I have it, and I just want it to exist beyond, this period of time. I want it to last the next 50 years.
As a journalist reaching out to, I think I had asked on to talk about Lunar New Year and then, learned about the community here. And it's very different because you have the historic community and then you have folks who have moved out to the West. So it's been interesting learning that in Illinois and just connecting, because you have to kind of find and search people out,
Rooted in the history of mutual aid and community building, Vietnamese Americans have reached beyond the insular community to advocate for immigrant rights and expanded grassroots organizing to support communities in need. What began as struggles for survival has evolved into organized communities of mutual aid, with a strong political influence in policies and civic engagement. Building off of this legacy, how can we continue to build our community's presence and influence in the next 50 years?
I guess I just hope that we are able to build more solidarity with people and just be more confident With our presence here in America,
I see a bright future in our church. All our students are very excited to be a part of it. They find joy in going to church every week.
So I just wanted to still have Asian businesses. I want young Asian people to come when they're missing a piece of home. This is where they can come. This changed my life just because I didn't have it growing up. And I just want the next generations to have this space.
I hope that there's still a sense of community amongst, Vietnamese Americans carrying on like cultural legacies 50 years on.
I'd say to the Vietnamese American community, keep being persistent about telling your story.
We want to be seen as a community that make contribution to the host community, right? People who have been kind and welcome us to be part of their community. We have to balance the possibilities of the members of the community doing well with the fact that there will always people who need our help to make sure that they can maintain, a decent quality of life.
Bên cạnh là để cho người Việt Nam với hội người Việt hai người cùng được song hành, chứ không phải hội người Việt đứng một mình hoặc là cá nhân đứng một mình, mà được song hành hợp tác với nhau thì mọi người sẽ đến vì cái lợi ích chung của văn hóa, kinh tế, kiến thức và bản sắc dân tộc thì sẽ kêu gọi được đông đảo người Việt của mình đến hợp tác và phát triển mạnh hơn.
Là thế hệ thứ hai, thứ ba, thứ tư, nó tới một lúc họ nói mình là ai? Mình đang ở đâu? Đang làm gì? Đặt ra nó sẽ đi tới. Thì đi tới thì nó chỉ những cái nơi đi tới được là hội người Việt. Thì nó có ý gì vậy đó, nó sẽ tiếp tay với hội người Việt để phát triển thôi. Giống như mấy con đang làm cái chuyện này.
The survival of Vietnamese refugees is no small feat. It is a testament to the enduring strength of the Vietnamese people and a reminder of the legacy Vietnamese Americans are built from. The 50th year anniversary is a tremendous milestone for the community, as it is both a somber reflection of the past and a call to action for the future. How do we honor our history while forging new paths forward? How do we make meaning of our experiences? We move forward holding close the sacrifices of our people, our ancestors, our community. We recognize the contributions that have built this community, and we are committed to uplifting and strengthening our community for future generations.
It's the people who's going to make a difference, and the community really depends on the engagement of the younger generation to take it to the new level.
So how can we continue to build the influence and presence of the Vietnamese American community in Illinois to make your visions come true? Examples of some of the efforts that we've built out over the past 50 years are electing Representative Hoang Huynh, protecting our people's rights to policies, and then our direct services work, as well as activities, cultural events, celebrations. We have up here drawings that you made a few months ago at one of our earlier community meetings. When we asked you to draw the world you wanted to see for your grandkids in the next 50 years, many of you drew affordable senior housing, public parks, greenery, and a thriving community. Each of your groups could have the following cards in your hands. Pick your top 5 priorities out of these options. The priorities we chose here will help to inform the values and issues we will fight for in the next 50 years.
For a long time, I felt like I wasn't Vietnamese enough because I didn't speak Vietnamese very well. I still don't speak Vietnamese very well. Or like, I don't know how to cook like the perfect pho or whatever. But like, I think if you feel connection, like you are enough. And there are people like you out here where we kind of feel like we're third culture kids. We're in America, but we still feel very Vietnamese. Like your community is out there, we're here, come find us, and come help us shape the future.